because the moment the tourists step off the airplane, they're leaving their good manners behind, and they openly admitted that as well. So going on a vacation, of course, you're going for rest and relaxation, but maybe you're also giving a rest to your manners, and you can just leave them at home for an extended period of time. We're bringing actual water trucks from neighboring provinces. So the hotel runs out of water, and then we are bringing in water from neighboring provinces to close that gap.
I was very surprised and happy to see a couple of days ago, actually earlier this week, that the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment has launched the Green Hotel Plus certification program, which is actually an internationally recognised certification by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. And the goal is to certify 600 hotels by February 2026 with the Green Hotel Plus certification. So is Thailand finally getting its act together in terms of sustainability now?
Yeah, that's the big question, but I think it's definitely a very positive signal that the Thai government tries to promote green initiatives and tries to actively also to become more sustainable. And I think at this stage we have seen so many initiatives over the last years, decades, that I think it's premature to say if the Thai government really gets their act together. But definitely the push is there, the motivation is there, which is a really good sign. I also believe that launching a local program will engage the hotels here in Phuket on a different level. For green certifications is not a new phenomenon. There's many of the larger chains are certified by different green councils, but that is done through international accreditation bodies. Having something locally here on the ground, I think it will engage maybe some of the medium and smaller sized hotels, the boutique sized hotels, maybe on a different level, makes it also financially maybe more attainable for them to pull along. So I think it's definitely a push in the right direction. If it's going to be the final successful push, I think that remains to be seen. Alex, you have been living here in Phuket also for many years already. I think we see it right at our doorstep that Phuket has undergone a tremendous development over the last, I would say, 10 years, would you agree? About 10 years, really accelerated?
I would agree, yes.
And while that is really great for a lot of local businesses, a lot of challenges also, it entailed a lot of challenges. And I think one of the biggest challenges, two biggest challenges in my opinion we see right now is the infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, I'm not just talking about the physical roads, but also transportation systems, everything related to local infrastructure. And then the other one is, of course, people are coming to Phuket for the beaches, for the environment. Phuket is a nature-based destination, and with the increasing amount of tourists that are coming here year in, year out, it brought on a lot of challenges as well. The environment has been degrading. There are some of the more obvious challenges, which I think tourists, it manifests, they can see it happening while they're here on vacation. But there are also some of the hidden challenges that you would maybe not see at first glance, but definitely behind the scenes. So for example, the water shortage that we are facing always around Songkran period. I think it's a big headache for residents, it's a big headache for hospitality operators. Even though I would presume tourists are maybe not so much aware. Would you agree?
I think they're probably not so aware, no, if you're just coming in on a short for a few days or a few weeks. But for residents and expats living here, there's certainly news about that. And, we know that when things get short, the solution is to bring in water trucks and panga.
That's exactly right. Yeah, for some people who are not so familiar with Phuket, normally we save the water in water reservoirs across the island, and then during the drought period or non-rainy season, the water is used from the reservoirs, and then again filled up in the rainy season again. But now, because we have a lot of tourists over here, and the numbers, they have just been increasing exponentially over the last couple of years, especially in the post-COVID era now. We're bringing actual water trucks from neighboring provinces. So the hotel runs out of water, and then we are bringing in water from neighboring provinces to close that gap.
You've recently gained a doctorate. You've recently got a PhD, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I successfully defended my thesis in July last year, and I was awarded the degree last year in November.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Could you talk us just briefly through what was your subject of your research and what were the main findings from it?
Yeah, sure. My research focused mainly on sustainable tourism here in Phuket. And I was taking a stance that I was looking at the demand side, which means I'm looking at the tourists opposed to just looking at businesses or the destination managers, government side. I wanted to really know how tourists are involved in this process. Are they really involved, and what is their role in hopefully achieving sustainable tourism development? As you know, Phuket, over here we have double-digit increases every year. It feels like that we have more planes coming in, more minibuses on the roads year after year, and it has been a very exciting period to see also how Phuket has developed. We certainly run into some issues here as well, and I wanted to see how tourists felt about that.
And what did they feel? What was the result of what were the main takeaways?
Yeah, the main takeaways were I did interviews and observations, because I like to do research in a way that you can triangulate the data. So a very famous quote is, what people say, what people do, and what they say they do are entirely different things. And I was really intrigued by that. So I did interviews to ask them how they see their role, how they see tourism development. And then I did observations where I observed them from afar, how they're interacting with the natural environment over here. And some of the findings were quite surprising. There is a relatively high awareness of sustainability amongst tourists. When I say that, we have to say I'm looking through the lens of Western tourists, mostly from Western countries. But there's a relatively high awareness of sustainability. But oftentimes, the moment the tourists step off the airplane, they're leaving their good manners behind. And they openly admitted that as well. So going on a vacation, of course, you're going for rest and relaxation. But maybe you're also giving a rest to your manners, and you can just leave them at home for an extended period of time.
Is sustainability something that only exists in Europe, or only exists when you're at home on your best behaviour, and when you go abroad it seems to be something that you can just let go of? Was that a thing? Is that a thing?
It's a great hypothesis, yes, and that's pretty much one of the main findings from the research, that they know non-conformity would not contribute to sustainable behavior, but it has a lot to do also with how sustainability is promoted at a local level. For example, we as human species, we like to conform with the majority. So if the majority just dumps plastic on the sidewalk, chances are you will also dump your plastic bottle on the sidewalk, even though you know it's the wrong thing to do.
Where I live on the beach in Phuket just reminds me of some tourists which have come down, and they are sitting in front of where I live. It's a very quiet end of a semi-quiet beach, and there's started to be some rubbish there. We've been cleaning it away, but once we don't clean it away, more and more rubbish piles up quickly, because if someone sees some rubbish, then it's kind of okay to dump, which is what you're saying, right?
Absolutely, and this is not a new phenomenon. This has been something documented throughout and over the last decades already in psychology research. Well, for example, the famous example is the New York graffiti. So where they had a control site where they would repaint the wall every day and just see how much new graffiti is added on a daily basis, versus the other side would be they would just let it be. And much more graffiti was added on the side where it would not be repainted. So yeah, I think that decreases the barrier to maybe let go of our good behaviors.
Do you know of any successful sustainable development practices, maybe particular hotels or real estate developments that are actually implementing sustainable practices here in Phuket?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about sustainable practices or green initiatives, however you want to call it, maybe some people have in mind that the hotel is completely covered in a jungle. It's all green and there's absolutely zero plastic. I think we don't always have to go to that extreme. I think sustainable development can be achieved in incremental successes. So even just doing a small thing already in the right direction, in the direction of moving towards sustainable tourism, is a success, in my opinion. But we have some hotels that really stand out, that do more than others. And when I say sustainable practices, we're not talking about the plaque that you hang on the wall where you say, please reuse your towels. But we're talking about something fundamentally supporting sustainable tourism. Sustainability is still a relatively new concept. Okay, maybe in some more developed parts in the world, it has been integrated for a longer period of time. But we have seen just this explosion of development in Thailand fairly recently. And right now the focus is, like you said, it comes all down to dollars and cents in the end of the day. But like I said, it's not mutually exclusive. So I think we just need to educate the public a little bit more what the long-term benefits are. So the long-term benefits not only for the environment, but also financially. Installing solar panels, yes, it's more expensive upfront, but we will have a saving effects down the line. Similar with other features as well, and other sustainability features that we can implement. Usually they come up with a higher upfront investment, but there are savings down the line as well. And I think if you get that message across that there are savings down the line, everybody likes cost savings. So I think that makes it a much more appealing way to sell sustainable tourism development.
The Old Town is probably the main sustainable project in Phuket. And it's something I've seen with my own eyes because I've rented a commercial space right on the main road. And when we first rented our office 10 years ago, it was quiet. There wasn't that many people around. And I've seen it gradually build up in terms of the numbers of people over the years, literally because my office kind of faces the street, so I've literally seen the increase in the number of people walking around. But one thing I can say is that the locals are surprised about the economic benefits of it and how much it's brought to them. So they're very happy. So that's an example of something which they've actually seen work. So that's a great model, I think, for the future. So would you say that the Old Town is a successful initiative from a sustainability point of view?
I would say so, but I think we also need to keep in mind sustainability. It's not black and white. It's not a yes or no. We cannot say, are we sustainable, yes or no. We can just, it's incremental progress, and I think Phuket Town has done a tremendous job in becoming more sustainable. They didn't achieve the UNESCO Heritage World Site certification. However, just following that checklist and trying to, doing one more step in the right direction already puts them on the right trajectory, at least. It puts them on the right path to sustainability, and I think we can definitely see that. It resonates with me what you earlier said with the introduction to Phuket Town, because now, well, we are living in 2025, but 2015, Barack Obama actually said, we are the first generation that can feel the impacts of climate change, but we are probably the last generation that can do something about it. And I think Phuket Town, again, is a good example of how we can become, as a community, as a destination, more sustainable. It's a good example. Is it a model? Because it's not really sustainability. To some extent, we can use as a blueprint and apply to different areas. But Phuket Town is also very unique. So we need to come up with different models that work for different sites and different contexts.
I mentioned the economic aspect of it just because it was been on my mind. I was speaking to some local stallholders around there and how well they've been doing. But economic things aside, by achieving that economic success, it's come as a result of preserving the heritage of the buildings, and they've done a number of things to increase the sidewalks, the pavements, taken down the wires. There is when you're converting a building or changing the look of it, you need to have some permission. It needs to be reviewed by the Old Town Foundation. So they've got those building blocks in place. But I think the social and cultural aspect has also been preserved and enhanced, which is a major plus point as well.
Absolutely, and that's the point or the dimension that is usually overlooked. People tend to focus on the environment. 80% of the effort goes into the environment. And that's probably the most important dimension as well, if you have to pick one. But there are other very important dimensions as well, because you can only achieve sustainability if you focus on all of them. Maybe not to an equal extent, but you cannot neglect the other two. And like you said, I think the socio-cultural part, socio-cultural preservation in Phuket Town have done a tremendous job over there. I think there's nothing more frustrating when we try really to become more sustainable, or you put all those things into motion, you try to change the way of you're doing business or you're operating your business, and you don't see the success. So I think seeing actually success in Phuket town, I think it's a great motivator as well to do more.
Just the Bumrungrad grad coming to Phuket is massive for Phuket, and it's going to change things and push things in that direction.
Absolutely. I think that will be a game changer. We'll put Phuket really on the map for medical tourism, having world-class facilities here. And then usually world-class facilities also means world-class practitioners as well in the hospital. And I think this is another good example of actually sustainable development. We don't need more development south of the airport, but there is room for growth north of the airport. If you're arriving in Phuket late afternoon, and once you're leaving the airport and you go to the main road going south, you know how long it can sometimes take, even going to Bang Tao area or all the way down to the Patong, even Ravai area. Maybe you will spend more time on the road than you actually spend on the flight coming down here from Bangkok. But going north, having more development up north, might be good for the road infrastructure as well, might be good for the local businesses over there. We will have one big facility like the hospital, and then smaller developments will usually follow suit, and we will see more growth in that particular area, which is then, if it's developed sustainably, it will be good for the local community as well.